look. I'm sorry, I did not look to see what page that was in your pew Bibles, but Luke chapter 10. It's page 971 in my Bible, which helps none of you out at all. But Luke chapter 10. We're going to start in verse 38. It's a familiar story. You've all heard this story before. But in Luke chapter 10, beginning in verse 38. And it says, "Now as they went on their way, Jesus entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. But Martha was distracted with much serving. And she went up to him and said, 'Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her then to help me.' But the Lord answered, 'Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her.'" I entitled this sermon, the sermon title is called Sit and Listen. Sit and listen. That's what it's about. Now, in Luke, we just kind of look at the setting. You know, I always want to look at context. I want to kind of see, where this is coming from here. In Luke chapter 10, we have the parable here of a good Samaritan where the lawyer comes to Jesus and says, "Teacher, what should I do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus replied, "What's written in the law? And how do you read it?" And the lawyer replied, "You love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." And we understand that as that's the two greatest commandments. Love God, love your neighbor. And the lawyer, thinking to try to justify himself, said, "Well, then who is my neighbor? If I'm supposed to love my neighbor, I need to know who is my neighbor, because maybe I don't want to love that person over here. I can say, 'You're not my neighbor. I don't have to be nice to you.'" And Jesus then tells this parable, the parable of the Good Samaritan. And in that parable, we won't get into a lot of detail about that, but basically Jesus says, anybody that you see has a need, that person is your neighbor. You go and do. You go out there and you help that person if they have a need. That's what that parable was all about. And then as he's going into this village, after he tells this parable, he goes into this village, and Mary and Martha there kind of invite him over to the house. And Martha is, she's kind of like me. I've got a VIP coming over to my house. What are all the things that I need to do to get the house ready? Forget who's coming, the president or whoever. You've got Jesus coming to your house. You've got the Messiah coming to your house. And Martha is sitting there, and she's saying, "Well, man, if Jesus is coming, first of all, yes, I am going to make my bed. I will make that look really good. I mean, the Marine Corps is going to be proud of how I made the bed if I knew Jesus was coming over, because it would be that good. And then I would get all the rest of the dog would probably go outside, because, I mean, first of all, we'd put him outside, then try to clean up all the fur that he drops all over the house all the time. And Martha's busy doing all this stuff. And then she's thinking, well, I got to get some food ready here. And I don't want to just give them a grilled cheese sandwich. I want them to have something nice. And so we're going to have a really nice meal. And she's just running around. And all the time, what is Mary doing? She's just sitting. She's just sitting there at Jesus' feet. And as Mary is sitting there, I can see Martha. I can just see Martha as she's sitting there. She looks at her. And you just see that frustration level start to go higher and higher. And she's giving him the dagger look through her eyes there, saying, "You're not doing anything. You're not helping." And finally it gets to the point where Martha comes up to Jesus and says, "Hey, look. She's not doing anything. Tell her to get up and help me." And Jesus says what she's doing is the important thing. It's the important thing. And she's saying, "Look, Lord, it doesn't seem to be fair. This is unfair. I'm doing all of the work while Mary just sits there and does nothing." And I think she's also telling the Lord, maybe he should have been telling her to get up and go get things ready instead of just letting her sit there as well. We know that in Deuteronomy chapter 6, it says, we read in the temptations when Jesus attempted to turn stones into bread. What does Jesus reply? He says, "Man does not live on bread alone." Food's not the most important thing that's out there. And then in Matthew chapter 22, we read the greatest commandment, which is what? Love God and love your neighbor. Those are the two greatest commandments. The love God part, I think, goes goes back to my title, Sit and Learn. Sit and listen. You sit and listen to what Jesus says. And then the love your neighbor part is go and do. You've sat, you've listened, you've heard what the words of God, and then you go out there and you go do what you've learned. That's the love your neighbor part. And a lot of the times we always want to be busy, we always want to be involved in doing things, and we forget the important part. We forget the sit and listen. We forget that we just need to sit down at the foot of Jesus and listen to him at times. Psalms 37 verse 7, it talks about this in the Bible elsewhere. Psalm 37 verse 7, be still in the presence of the Lord and wait patiently for him to act. Psalm 40 verse 10, 46 verse 10, be still and know that I am Lord. Be still. Sit and listen. I heard one teacher explain it one time. He says, are you at that corner where you don't know which way to turn? Then for goodness sake, sit down. Sit at Jesus' feet. Look in his word and see what he has to say. It will help you with your homework. It will make you a better dishwasher. It will help you sweep the floors cleaner. You will dig a better ditch, mow a better lawn, and study your lesson better. Your work at the office will be easier, and you'll be able to drive your car better. Just take the time to sit at the feet of Jesus. And I got to admit, this is hard for us to do because we live in a Martha world. There are times that we just need to stop and be quiet and be still and to rest in the presence of the Lord. It's good for ourselves, it's good for our relationship with other people, and it's good for our relationships with God. I remember one time when Josh was little, and I know it happened here at this church. Darlene could probably tell the story better than what I can because I probably wasn't even here because I don't know that I probably was preaching somewhere. But Josh was here at the church one time. He was really little. Somebody was misbehaving. I don't remember if it was my kids or if it was somebody else. And all of a sudden, Josh just blurts out, "You need a nap." I say that all the time. Yes, I do. I do need a nap. But what kind of world do we live in? We live in a Martha world where we're just going 24/7, and we never take the time just to stop, to sit and listen to the Word of God, to sit at the feet of Jesus. I want you to imagine with me, if you will, that each one of us here today, if we were to remember that the most important thing we can be doing is to just sit and listen. Do you think that Mary even noticed Martha and her getting in a huff? Do you think Mary, even as she's sitting at the feet of Jesus and listening to Jesus, do you think she looked over to Martha and she's starting to look upset? I doubt it. I think that she was so enthralled to be in the presence of the Lord, to just sit and listen, that she did not even notice everything else that was going on around her. What is it like to be in the presence of the Lord? To just forget everything around you. It reminds me of a story in 1990. A woman entered a Haagen-Dazs store in Kansas City for an ice cream cone. I don't even know if they still have it. Goes into the Haagen-Dazs store for an ice cream cone. And while she is ordering her ice cream cone, another customer enters the store. And she placed her order, and she turned around and found herself face to face with Paul Newman. He was in town filming a movie, and his blue eyes just made her knees buckle. I mean, she saw Paul Newman, looked at his face. He's standing there looking straight at her, and I mean, she just got weak in the knees with Paul Newman being there. And so she finished paying, and she quickly walked out of the store with her heart still pounding there. And gaining her composure, she suddenly realized she didn't have her ice cream cone. So she turned to go back to the store, and as she got to the door, she met Paul Newman, who was coming out of the store. And he said to her, "Are you looking for your ice cream cone?" And unable to even say anything because she's just so weak-kneed, she can't even talk, she just kind of nodded her head, uh-huh. And Paul Newman said, "Well, you put it in your purse with your change." When was the last time that the presence of God made you forget what was going on around you? When was the last time that you were in God's presence, face to face with Him, that you just forgot the dishes, that you just forgot the hockey game that was on TV, that made you forget the bank account that you've been worrying about? Sit and listen. What would change in your life if you just spent time with God? What changed with Moses when Moses spent time with God? When he would go into the tabernacle and he would be with God there in the tabernacle, and he came out of the tabernacle, what changed with Moses? He had to wear a veil because his face was shining so brightly the people couldn't even gaze at him. It changed him to be in the presence of God. Let me make a challenge for you today. If your life is a little out of focus, make a promise right now that this is what is important to me: to sit and listen. And my challenge is that this week, for 7 days, for 1 week, for 7 days, I will take 30 minutes of my day to sit and listen. To listen what God has to say. To sit at the feet of Jesus and be so enthralled with what He is saying that I'll forget everything that's going on around me. Will you take 30 minutes of your day this week to sit at the feet of Jesus and just listen? Sit, listen, and hear the words of our Lord. That's our challenge for today. Our invitation hymn, we always want to have an invitation because I know that sometimes our life is just spinning out of control, and Jesus is the answer. He is the one that can come and take and make things right in your life. And the invitation is for those of us, even we've been a Christian for years and years, I challenge us to take that challenge just to spend 30 minutes a day to sit at His feet and listen. Sit and listen to Him, to His Word. Get into His Word, get into prayer, and just do that for 30 minutes each day. And if you've not made Jesus Christ your Lord and Savior, we always want to give you that opportunity to make Him the Lord, make Him Savior of your life. Just sit and listen to what He has to say, and allow and just get so enthralled in Him that all the cares of this world will just go away, because He can bring you that kind of peace. The invitation's for you as well. If you need to make Jesus your Lord and Savior, we give that invitation today. We're going to have the praise team is already here, and they'll come lead us in worship, our invitation hymn as we stand and sing. Thank you.
Seems like all I see was a struggle, haunted by ghosts that lived in my past, bound up in shackles of all of my failures, wondering how long is this gonna last. Then you look at this prisoner and say to me, son, stop fighting a fight that's already been won. I am redeemed set me free. So I'll shake off these heavy chains, wipe away every stain. I'm not who I used to be. I am redeemed. All my life I have been called unworthy, named by the voice of my shame and regret. But when I hear you whisper, child, lift up your head, I remember, oh God, you're not done with me yet. I am redeemed. You set me free. So I'll shake off these heavy chains, wipe away every stain. I'm not who I used to be, because I don't have to be the old man inside of me, because his day's long dead and gone. Because I've got a new name, a new life, I'm not the same. A hope that will carry me home. I am redeemed. You set me free. So I'll shake off these heavy chains, wipe away every stain. I'm not who I used to be. I am redeemed. You may be seated, and our next song is our communion song. On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. And I love that old cross, where the dearest and best for a world of lost sinners was slain. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. Oh, that old rugged cross, so despised by the world, as a wondrous attraction for me. For the dear Lamb of God left his glory above to bear it to dark Calvary. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. someday to my home far away, where His glory forever I'll share. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. And will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. I'll be reading to you from John 6:19 through 30. Jesus gave them this answer, I tell you the truth, the Son can do nothing by himself. He can only do whatever he sees his Father doing, because whatever the Father does, the Son also does. For the Father loves the Son and shows him all he does. Yes, to your amazement, he will show him even in greater things than these. For just as the Father raises the dead and gives them life, even so to the Son gives life to whom he is pleased with. Moreover, the Father judges no one, but has entrusted all judgment to the Son, that all may honor the Son, just as they brought honor to thy Father. He who does not honor the Son does not honor the Father, who also sent him. I tell you the truth, whoever bears my word and believes him with who sent his eternal life will not be condemned. He has crossed over from the death to life. I tell you the truth, a time is coming and has now come when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who hear will live. For the Father has life in himself, so he has granted the Son to have a life in himself. And he has given him authority to judge, because he is the Son of Man. Do not be amazed at this, for a time is coming when all who are in their graves will hear his voice and come out. Those who have done good will rise to live, and those who have done evil will rise to be condemned. By myself I can do nothing. I judge only as I hear, and my judgment is just, for I seek not to please myself, but him who sent me. What I was given thought on as this week, most of, I would say all of you, whether you're the son, the daughter, or your child, or your grandchild, or whatever, it was always, we'd take them out in the car, or maybe it was like me on the tractor a lot of times, and I would go and, you know me, I'll take the throttle and run it up fast back, or even put my foot on the gas and go fast. And you got the little one, which was very exciting, would say, go, 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 come on, faster, faster. And we did it out of fun and doing things at that time, but when we came to a stop sign or a stoplight, you have four ways, he would be saying, go, go, let's go, faster. But you can't. You know that there's a time when you've got to stop. And you just keep hearing that go, go, go in your mind, but you say, no, I've got to stop and listen to what the Lord says. But just as we are new in Christ, we always want things to hurry up, go, go, go fast with all the blessings, or being able to do the things he asks us. But sometimes we have to just stop, listen, look, and slow down for him to give us his blessing. Both ways, pray, know that he is God, and it will come to us in time. And it was really something that Mark said, we need to slow down in his message and just take time out. And this is what he's telling us. We've got to stop and listen to him. Sometimes what we want isn't always what he wants. So until you do do that and listen, things will become clearer for you in your life. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Our gracious and loving Father, we thank you for this time. Father, we are so blessed, Father, that we have you to look to, and we do need to stop. We do need to listen. We do need to love, Father, and look both left and right, because you are there directing us. And if we allow you to do that, Father, as we partake of this loaf, which is the broken body on the cross, and this shed blood for remissions of sin, Father, we honor you as we partake, and Father, we truly love you as we are here. Father, we ask that you be with each and every one of us as we go throughout this day. May you bless us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. At this time, then we'll give you the prayer for our offering. Our gracious and loving Father, we give to you, Father, from the bottom of our hearts. Father, we know that if we look with the people that's in charge to further your kingdom, Father, here in Owensville, and not just here, but as we do our ministries that we have. Father, thank you what you mean to us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Bowling's coming up. Please join us March 23rd after worship at Owensville Thunder Alley. OCC will provide pizza and the cost of bowling. Right. And if you want something else, you can order it on your own. Save the date. Sunday, August 24th is the OCC picnic and pool party, and it will be at the home of Jason and Sarah Crow. Save the date. Friday, June 27th, the OCC parking lot and community fireworks that we have, and it's enjoyable. We have people that does the ice cream and everything else. Tuesday, ladies' Bible study at 11 a.m. Current series is a study of 1 Peter. Wednesday night impact. This week is 6 to 6:30. We kind of missed it. Everybody's been saying, man, it's been forever since we've had it. And we truly miss it because Doug has been doing a really good series on Luke, and we are in-depth thinking and asking questions and that. So that's a good thing. That it? Okay, and then kind of give you an update. Friday I talked to the realtor. She said they're working with the lady that she's working on getting a loan, and then she was going to meet with her again Saturday, which I did not come back and talk to her for Saturday, but she does update me when there's things going on. So, you know, applying for a loan can take up to 4 to 6 weeks. So just to give you an idea, we'll try to update you as we know when things come about. Okay? Any other thing? All right. Okay, the ladies group is talking about the first week of June, taking a trip to Kentucky, go to all the different sites and things to be seen down there. So there is a lot there. So if you're interested, contact Michelle. And I do apologize, Todd. I said your daughter. Sometimes it's hard for me to hear way back there, and it was Terry, and that. So I apologize. Is there anything else? Okay, if not, we'll stand and have a word of prayer, and then Willie and the praise team will come up and we'll sing you out. Our gracious and loving Father, we thank you for this wonderful day, Father. May we take the message and apply it to our lives. Father, we ask that you keep us safe. Father, the many prayers that were lifted up to you, Father, whether verbal or silent, we ask that you bless each and every person. Be with the doctors as they make decisions, Father. And Father, we truly love you for being here and being by our sides, helping us each and every day. Be with us as we go to our prospective homes. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Open up the heavens, we want to see you. Open up the floodgates, a mighty river flowing from your heart, filling every part of our praise. Open up the heavens, we want to see you. Open up the floodgates, a mighty river flowing from your heart, filling every part of our praise. Have a blessed and wonderful week.